Tonight on Sports Paws, Quinnipiac Baseball's leading hitter, Brian Moskey, is live in studio. Find out what's been working for him this season.
Also, Casey Herzog stakes her claim amongst the Quinnipiac record books. See which record she broke and more later on.
Plus, the tennis teams put their perfect conference records to the test.
All that and more on Sports Paws. Welcome to Sports Paws. I'm Aaron Robinson, and with me here is Kyle Levasseur. Kyle, the weekend weather was ideal for spring sports. The sun was shining, and that means there were smiles all around.
Oh, it was picture-perfect weather this Saturday for the men's lacrosse team, Aaron. Q30 Sports men's lacrosse beat reporter Chris Dacey has more on their game against Canisius.
It was senior day for all 14 seniors on the Quinnipiac men's lacrosse team, which played Canisius when it came to town on Saturday.
It's hard to see anyone go. You know, usually my wife gets more emotional than I do, and I remind her that if I'm doing my job, they should be gone in 4 years. So, 5 and 6 and 7 aren't really the way it's supposed to work out, but they've done a lot.
Head coach Eric Feketa saw his team dominate for most of the game, but the Bobcats had a little bit of trouble at the end when trying to close the game out.
I think we just let off the gas a little bit. We got a little complacent towards the end, looking at the score. I don't know, it's happened before, and hopefully it won't happen again. We'll fix it this week, but it's hard to play when you're up by 11, so we got that problem and we came through it.
The Bobcats stressed out Feketa and even some fans, but the Bobcats pulled it out 19-14.
A couple bad penalties in the end, and I'm not proud of it, but again, I thought, fortunately for the team, they did enough to put themselves up enough where it didn't really have too much of an effect.
With the win, the Bobcats improved to a perfect 4-0 start in MAC play, but it does not get any easier from here. The Bobcats have 2 more games, both on the road against Marist and Monmouth, the past 2 MAC champions.
So it's going to be easy to get up for these guys for sure. We've had a rivalry ever since we've been here the 4 years. It's just been great games with them, and we'll be ready to play.
Another senior says this year reminds him of a past team he played on.
This season seems a little similar to that season. We went undefeated and struggled a bit at the beginning of the season, and this season's been the same. We lost a couple games, we won a couple games.
Chris Dacey, Q30 Sports.
Quinnipiac's win against Canisius improves its MAC record to 4-0 this season. The Bobcats are the only remaining undefeated team in the conference and have clinched a spot in the playoffs along with Detroit Mercy and Monmouth. Canisius and Marist will fight for the 4th and final spot in the tournament, while Quinnipiac will finish the regular season against Monmouth and Marist and try to lock down the #1 overall seed.
The men's lacrosse team picked up 2 weekly awards as Will Vitelli earned MAC Defensive Player of the Week and freshman Jake Tomczyk grabbed the MAC Rookie of the Week award. Vitelli won his 2nd Defensive Player of the Week award on the season, as Tomczyk picked up his 3rd Rookie of the Week award in what has been a stellar year for the freshman attack.
Well, Tomczyk was one of the options on this week's Sports Paws Twitter poll. The question is, who is the most important player to the QU men's lacrosse team? 60% of voters chose Foster Cuomo, who leads the team in goals with 26 this season. Tomczyk took home 26% of the votes. He has 21 goals this season and leads the team with 16 assists. And Mike Fletcher, who has 22 goals and 13 assists, received 11% of the votes. We're now going to bring in Chris Dacey, Q30's Sports men's lacrosse beat reporter. Chris, I know you called those 3 the big 3 of the men's lacrosse team, and you think even that Foster Cuomo should not have gotten the most votes.
I got to go with Jake Tomczyk on that poll. That's who I voted for. I got to go with the young talent looking ahead.
All right, Chris. Well, you've been following the team all season long. They get the win against Canisius this weekend. They stay undefeated. What was working for them on Saturday?
Well, they scored the most goals they've scored all season against Canisius. They led at 11 at one point. They said in little kind of struggled at the end there to close out this game. They Riley Palmer at the end said it's hard to play with 11-point lead, but they did end up pulling this out. The 3 players I look at are the big 3. Indeed, Jake Tomczyk had 4 goals, along with Foster Cuomo, and then Fletcher had 3 goals to add. Big 3 was huge in this game. They scored 19 goals. Big reason why right there. The defense was solid through the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter was a little bit shaky, as I said, had the 11-point lead, and then Canisius was able to cut it to 5. Other than that, best thing you can ask for senior day if you're the Quinnipiac Bobcats.
And Chris, this team has been playing amazing. So how do you think this team has been able to remain undefeated in the MAC?
Well, like I said, they've relied on these big 3 players, Tomsic, Cuomo, and Fletcher. Tomsic, 21 goals, 16 assists. Cuomo, 26 goals, 11 assists, leads the team, like you said, Kyle. Fletcher, 22 goals, 13 assists. And another player that I want to mention that has kind of gone under the radar this year is Brian Feldman. Got his 100th point this year, and he also is up there with 21 goals. He's been a very nice addition to the second midi line this year. Was attacked last year, got bumped over to midi when Thompson came in here. He's a player to look out for. Another player that goes extremely under the radar, in my opinion, is Will Vitelli, the face-off guy. However well he does is how well the offense does for Quinnipiac. He gets possession, like you saw with Canisius game. He won 22 out of 33 face-offs, and they scored 19 goals. And a game he struggled against was Holy Cross. Lost won 20% of his face-offs around that number, and they struggled throughout that game. They could not get possession, and Holy Cross absolutely dominated that game. So Will Vitelli, a player that really is under the radar, in my opinion.
All right, Chris, so the top 4 teams make the playoffs, and Quinnipiac right now at 4-0. They're not going to be able to host home field advantage in the playoffs because Monmouth already has been selected as the team that will host the MAC playoffs, but they can still get that #1 seed. They have 2 more regular season games left. What do they have to do in those last 2 games?
Kyle, I think these are these last 2 games are the most difficult they're going to be for the men's lacrosse team. At Monmouth, the defending MAC champion, and then you got at Marist, won the MAC 2 years ago, who's fighting for that last playoff season, so you know they're going to get up for that game. I think, like you said, you're going to have to rely on this big 3. I keep coming back to them a lot, but they have been the entire team this year, in my opinion, and you got to rely on Will Vitelli. Like I said, however far he goes, that's how far I think Quinnipiac goes. He's the guy. Defense also got to play better closing out games. Like I said in Canisius, they had an 11-point lead, and they struggled to take that. Canisius cut it all the way down to 5. But like I said, defense has to shut down these games at the end. And coach, players, they all agreed with that after the Canisius game.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, moving from the lacrosse field to the baseball diamond, the baseball team traveled on Wednesday to face Boston College. While the Bobcats led their ACC opponents 5-3 in the 7th inning, the Eagles' bats woke up in the bottom of the frame, placing 5 runs. Freshman relief pitcher Joe Preciado picks up the loss. While Preciado started the season with 5 shutout innings from the bullpen, he's now led up 12 earned runs in his last 5 innings pitched.
Here we go, guys. We're going to Quinnipiac and Siena on the baseball diamond. Quinnipiac looking to stay undefeated in the MAC. We're going right to the 4th inning here. Siena has runners on 1st and 2nd when Brian Kelly pops this RBI single into the outfield, and Siena will take a 1-0 lead. Now we're going to the bottom half of the 4th with this next play. And we see on the 12th pitch of this at-bat, Evan Vogelmore comes through huge for Quinnipiac, and the Bobcats will score 2 runs on this single. Take a 2-1 lead.
Ooh, 12 pitches in 1 at bat. That's called gritting it out.
Absolutely. Now we're going to the top of the 5th. Siena looking to respond here, and they do get their response they're looking for from Matt Hamill as he ropes this single to left field. Zach Durfee would score to tie the game at 2 for the Siena Saints. Now we're going to the 6th inning here, and big bat Liam Scaffriello will single in a run here for the Bobcats. But what you do not see on this at-bat is the right fielder who completely misses the ball, which allows a 2nd run to score, and which allows Scaffriello to move to 3rd, in which Ben Gibson would then bat him in on the next at-bat, and the Bobcats would defeat Siena 5-2.
Well, there would be a game 2 of that doubleheader, Aaron, and Q30 beat reporter Sam Bosquet had more.
The Quinnipiac baseball team split its doubleheader today, winning Game 1 and losing Game 2. This marks their first conference loss of the season, but the Bobcats still sit comfortably in first place in the MAC at 8-1. The weather was hot for Game 1, and so were the Bobcats. Siena actually out-hit Quinnipiac 9-6, but a couple of errors by the Siena defense allowed Quinnipiac to tack on a few extra runs. Hits by Evan Volgamore and Liam Scaffarello propelled the Bobcats to a 5-3 victory in Game 1.
You know, past couple of games I've been struggling a little bit. My swing has been getting long. Today, I was just trying to slow it down, find pitches that I could hit and drive, and I found a couple.
As the weather cooled down for Game 2, the Bobcats followed trend. Compared to Sienna's 12 hits, the Bobcats only had 6. A couple of errors by the Bobcats as well led to more Sienna success. The Bobcats lost the second game 12-4.
No loss is good for me. The third game of every series is the toughest game to win because you're either, for them, they were trying to salvage a series by winning one game. If you have an opportunity where the series is even going into the third game, you're trying to win a series. So that's a tough game to win.
Even though the Bobcats lost the second game today, they still won the series 2-1. The Bobcats look to work out some more of their kinks in a non-conference matchup in Smithfield, Rhode Island against the Bryant Bulldogs. Reporting from the QU baseball field, I'm Sam Bosquet.
Thanks, Sam. Q30 baseball beat reporter Robin Brown is now live with the Bobcats' leading hitter, Brian Moskey, who went 6 for 13 this weekend. Robin, what's going on?
Hey guys, thanks for having us. Thanks for being here as well, Brian.
No problem.
So the team so far is 8-1 on the season. What can this immediate hot start and success be accredited to?
I think just focusing on one game at a time this year. We had our first series against St. Peter's in conference play. And then we didn't go into the weekend thinking, we have to sweep, we just focused on Game 1, and that's what we did the last 2 weekends as well. When you win Game 1, you just take control of the series. So that's what we've been trying to do this year, just take one pitch at a time.
So speaking of taking pitches, last year you had 50 hits on the season.
Yeah.
This year you already have 44, and there's still 19 games left to play. What's been the difference in your swing from last year to this year?
I think just being more mature as a hitter, going up there, having a plan. Having a plan as a hitter, having a good approach is one of the biggest things. And especially down south, once we played a few games, the scouting reports come out. And you kind of have to see the way teams are approaching you as a hitter. So we realized that I was having a really hot start, and teams were going to pitch me a different way when there was no one on, compared to when there were runners in scoring position. So we just took that plan and just kind of executed it as well as we could.
So now take me into the batter's box. What is the mental approach before you step in there versus is it see a pitch, hit a pitch, or is there a mentality that goes into it prior?
Like I said, I think going up there with a plan for that first pitch is one of the best pitches you're going to get to hit. I don't know what the numbers are, but I've swung at a ton of first pitch opportunities this year so far. And just sitting on that one pitch, and if you get that pitch, do damage with it. So that's what we've been doing as a team, and I've been able to execute that this year.
And so not only from hitting, but also you play center field. What's that leadership role, I guess, like in the dugout and playing in the outfield there?
Yeah, I think it's important for each team to be strong up the middle, being catcher, pitcher, the middle infielder, and then your center fielder. We kind of control the field. We're the captains on the field. When there's a ball hitting between us, we have priority over other people. But we're also seeing the game because we're seeing it right from behind the pitchers, so we can make adjustments, whether we have to do a shift or something like that. Just seeing this, the different hitter swings and adapting in game. That's been our biggest success so far.
And so thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
Back to you guys at the desk.
All right, guys, it's time for a quick break. Stay tuned to see how softball did in 2 crucial MAC doubleheaders.
And later, we'll see if the women's lacrosse team has a chance to make the MAC playoffs. We'll be right back.
Whether you're on the quad, in your room,
or heading to class,
tune in to Q30 News
for stories by student journalists you can trust.
We are covering the latest here on campus and in surrounding areas. Get the news you need to know every Wednesday night.
Custom Cakes by Steve. If you can dream it, we can bake it.
Lynn and Rocco Labadia are assistant coaches for the Quinnipiac softball team. For the third season in a row, Quinnipiac and Yale honored the life of the Labadia's son, Chris. Chris Labadia passed away in a car accident on January 16, 2016. He was 19 years old. Both teams held a pregame ceremony and coined the matchup Chris's game. The Bulldogs won 8-0.
Oh, it was a tough loss. Big day, you know, Chris's game means the world to all of us. As I told the girls in the huddle, it doesn't take away from the event. The event is what it is, right? You got to show up. And so if they can take anything from today, it's going to be that they should be more prepared as we now enter into our stretch with the MAC.
Quinnipiac had another home game just 2 days later against Iona. The matchup featured the two best pitchers in the MAC, the Gales' Marnie Skinner and the Bobcats' Casey Herzog. Iona plated 6 runs against Herzog, while Skinner picked up the complete game shutout for a 6-0 Iona win. The Bobcats would try to settle the score in Game 2 of the doubleheader.
The Bobcats battled in Game 2, down 6-3 in the 5th inning, but the Bobcats then scored 2 runs in the 7th to cut the deficit to just 1 run. But the comeback effort came up just short as Quinnipiac fell 6-5. Kendall Brundrett got the start for the Bobcats, but after giving up 4 runs, was relieved by Abby Long. Abby Long put up a solid showing, pitching 4 scoreless innings in relief.
All right, Aaron, and they would have another doubleheader against Marist later that weekend. Let's take a look at how they did in Game 1.
Yes, sir. We're going right to the first inning here of Quinnipiac taking on Marist. Quinnipiac has runners on first and third here, as Kaylani Finley takes care of business, driving in 2 runs here. The Bobcats will lead the Red Foxes early 2-0. We're going still in the bottom of the first inning here, and a line drive is caught by who else than Casey Herzog, who turned for a double play to get out of the inning.
What a snag.
Absolutely. We're going to the top of the 4th inning now, and Lexi Courtney will send this fly ball into left field. Coach Karofsky will wave the batter in, and the throw to the plate is not on time. Now to the 5th inning, Bridget Douglas here is going to fly out into the outfield, and look at this throw by Allie Millam of Marist. Watch this cannon. Throws to third base, and she throws out Kaylani Finley. Wow, what a throw there. I think you'll see that one later on again. However, the Red Foxes will not be able to get enough on offense, and Quinnipiac will go on to win this one 3-0. Yep, and the Bobcats missed Herzog in Game 2 as the Marist offense was able to get going for a huge 4-run 3rd inning and then a 5-run 4th inning to take a commanding 9-4 lead. The Bobcats would add 1 run in the 5th inning and another in the 7th, but eventually fell short by a score of 9-6. Next up for the Bobcats is going to be a home doubleheader against Holy Cross on Wednesday from the QU softball field.
Aaron, let's look at the MAC standings, where Quinnipiac sits at 5th out of 11 teams. The top 6 teams make the playoffs. Monmouth is in 1st and is still undefeated 8 games into the season. The Bobcats will face the Hawks at home this Sunday. This weekend, Quinnipiac will also take on 4-2 Siena. After that, Quinnipiac's last 3 MAC opponents are Fairfield, Manhattan, and St. Peter's. The Jaspers and Peacocks, as you can see on your screen, are both 0-8 this season and are the bottom dwellers in the MAC.
Quinnipiac has had a trio of starting pitchers who have all seen action this season. Let's start with Casey Herzog, the ace who has been absolutely terrorizing MAC batters all season long. Herzog has an ERA of 1.52 on the year and a whopping 133.2 innings, and has posted a record of 13-8 on the season. Next, you have Kendall Brundrett, who is 4-4 on the season and 55.2 innings pitched. Lastly, you see Abby Long, who has seen action in 46 innings and is still looking to pick up her first win on the season.
All right, Aaron, let's transition from one women's sports team vying for a playoff spot to another one, the women's lacrosse team, and they would face Fairfield, a little in-state women's lacrosse action. What else can you ask for, Aaron, at Fairfield University? And it was a back-and-back battle, a little heavyweight boxer, really, action. Fairfield up 5-3 here. They'd add another goal, putting them up 6-3. But Allison Kuhn of the Bobcats is going to tie the game later in the first, 7-7. And then Kuhn again, she wouldn't be done. Second half, the game is still tied, but she's going to put the Bobcats up 8-7, a goal, again, right in front of the net, attacking the net. Quinnipiac would go up 10-7 with this goal right here. A 3-goal cushion in the second half. You think that might be enough, but Fairfield would not go down dying. 10-9, they tie it with less than 2 minutes left in regulation. We got some free women's lacrosse here, Aaron. Overtime action, and a free position shot by Fairfield is going to result in a goal. Kyle Larkin guesses right. The shooter goes left. Fairfield goes on to win 11-10.
All right, now we're going to Quinnipiac and Canisius, who played this weekend from the Quinnipiac Turf Lacrosse Field. Quinnipiac coming off 3 straight losses, trying to get back on track here. We're going to the first half, score tied 2-2, and Jordan Roma breaks the tie for Canisius. Next, we have Briar Cummings, who scores her second goal of the game for the Golden Griffs to add to the Canisius lead. They're now up 7-2 in the first half. We'll go to second half action here. Quinnipiac trying to make a run, and Maya Feigenbaum will sprint past the defenders and put this one into the back of the net. Feigenbaum was the first of the game to pull Quinnipiac within 5. Quinnipiac now 10-4 with some momentum, and Ashley Babinski pulling up the penalty to pull Quinnipiac within 10-5. Now we have Allison Kroon with a feed here to Sydney Cowell, who puts this one in for the Bobcats, who are now trailing by 3. But it will not be enough as Canisius would put this one into the back of the net, and they would add another one later to go on to win by a score of 12-7.
Aaron, the Bobcats' 4-game losing streak places them at 8 out of 9 teams in the MAC. Just like softball, the top 6 teams make the playoffs, and with only 2 conference games left, Quinnipiac will have to win out against Siena and Niagara for a chance of making the tournament. Quinnipiac would also need Iona to lose its last 3 games of the year, and for Manhattan to lose at least 1 game where Quinnipiac will have the tiebreaker over them.
So Q30's Sean Raggio broke down the details of this lacrosse team's standings against Canisius. Sean, let's hear it.
Thanks, Kyle and Aaron. I'm here to break down why the Quinnipiac women's lacrosse team is on an 0-4 skid, and we're going to take it to the touchscreen. We got the Bobcats against the Canisius Golden Griffins, and we'll start with Haley Everding here. She gets caught flat-footed. The attacker runs right around and scores on Kyle Larkin, and you'll see this as a theme throughout the entire segment. Kyle Larkin, the Quinnipiac Bobcats goalie, she gets left hanging time and time again, and that's not going to win you games. Next up, we got Maddie Lamagna, who's a midfielder playing back in the defensive zone. Doesn't pick up number 19 off of a pick, and again, you have Kyle Larkin left hanging, and 9 times out of 10, in my opinion, that goal is going to go in. Don't check that statistic, please. You also, how else? She's not a natural defender, so you got to communicate with her. Let her know, hey, there's a pick. You got to pick up the open girl, and doesn't do that, and it's in the back of the net for the Golden Griffins. Moving on, we got Shannon Savage gets caught flat-footed, and again, they run right around the Bobcats, put it in the back of the net. And you can't win games, you won't win playoff games, you won't win a championship if you can't communicate and if you leave your goalie hanging like that. But the Bobcats did do something right against the Golden Griffins, and you'll see it here as Maya Feigenbaum is going to take it, drive in, and she's going to find Twine, puts this one to the back of the net. And here's something the Bobcats need to do to win games. They need to just put the ball on net, take any open shot you can, and just keep firing on the net. And you'll see why in this next clip here. You have Jenna Henningsen, who's going to take, celebration there. Jenna Henningsen takes it, puts it on net, and you see that rebound. While she did not score, that rebound is exactly what you need to win games. You have attack the net, crash, get that rebound, pick it up, put it in. Even if it's a ground ball, you'll be able to scoop it, put it in the back of the net. The Bobcats, I don't think that they're done yet. I think that they have a shot to at least win a couple more games, maybe make a push for the MAC, but they need to do this. They need to talk, they need to stop leaving Larkin hanging, and they need to keep firing the ball at the net, look for those rebounds and cash in on some of them in order to make it to the MAC tournament, or at least get a couple more wins, snap this 4-game drought. Kyle, Aaron, back to you guys at the desk.
It's time for one last break. Can you believe it, Aaron? It's flying by. We'll find out if men's tennis could remain perfect in MAC play.
And of course, we'll have this week's top 5 plays. Stay right there. Sports Paws will be right back.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
Bobcat Breakdown presented by the Quinnipiac Bobcats Sports Network.
We are your source for debate.
Did they make the playoffs last year, Tom Jenkins? When it clicks, it clicks.
We dissect Quinnipiac athletics on a scale you've never seen before.
With Tobia, it almost looks like she's reaching a little bit.
Plus, we bring in the biggest names surrounding college sports.
We are live here at the Times Union Center with Jay Billis.
And of course, some comedy.
But you can only have so much arena food.
I think you're crazy.
Bobcat Breakdown. Tuesdays at 9:30.
Sports Paws is brought to you by Custom Cakes by Steve. If you can dream it, we can bake it.
All right, Kyle, now we're going to talk about some men's tennis. The men's tennis team was in action twice this past week. First for a home contest against Marist on Tuesday, and then followed by a road contest against Siena on Friday. Quinnipiac won both contests to remain undefeated in the MAC, and the Bobcats defeated the Red Foxes by 4-3, and then went to Siena and picked up a win rather easily, winning 6-1.
3 matches and 3 wins for the women's tennis team. Quinnipiac improves to 12-6 overall and 6-0 in conference play after downing Providence, Siena, and Marist this week. The Bobcats have now won 44 MAC matches in a row. Quinnipiac travels to Fairfield tomorrow to finish regular season conference play. The MAC playoffs take place April 28th and 29th.
And it was business as usual for Jess Lee as she broke 2 records this weekend at the Auburn Invitational. Lee broke her own record in the 100-meter hurdle and set a new record for the 100-meter dash. Lee's 13.52-second finish in the 100-meter hurdle was good for a 5th-place finish, with her 11.2-second 100-meter dash was good for a 6th-place finish out of 58 competitors. Junior Marlo Ware also set a program record in her event, the 400-meter hurdle.
Aaron, I feel like Jessica Lee is always breaking records. She could have a top 5 plays of her own. But we're going to go, my favorite time of the week, the top 5 plays of the week brought to you by Q30 Sports. Let's take a look, Aaron. You start us off with play number 5. We've got women's lacrosse action.
Number 5, women's lacrosse, we have at Fairfield. And Taylor Mitchell in overtime puts this one past Kyle Larkin for the Fairfield Stacks, to be able to win 11-10. UD goal right there, heartbreaking for the Bobcats.
Play number 4, Casey Herzog on the diamond. Ooh, what a snag, and doubling her up. Nice heads-up play by the pitcher.
Absolutely. Here we go to number 3. We're going to have men's lacrosse versus Canisius. And Jake Tomzik swerves around his defenders. Oh, excuse me, skipped through that lane and to the back of the net. There we go. Give me one for Tomzik. Wow, Quinnipiac, he had a great freshman campaign for Quinnipiac.
Numero dos, Bridget Douglas of the Marist Red Foxes out there in right field. Looks like Bryce Harper right here. A cannon throwing out the runner at third base. Bang, bang play. Quinnipiac would go on to win 3-0.
And the number 1 player of the week, we're going back to men's lacrosse. This time it's Foster Cuomo, who leaves a defender in the dust. Oh my God, register me for a goal. Foster Cuomo, why you do him like that?
The complete disrespect, Aaron. Oh my goodness.
That was crazy. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us for this edition of Sports Paws. With the end of the regular season approaching for many spring sports, make sure to follow us for content on our website, Q30 TV, and on Twitter at Q30 Sports.
Yeah, we've got all our beat reporters covering all the action as the playoffs are coming up, so make sure we'll have game recaps, videos, all of the stuff on Q30 TV and on social media. But we'll be right back here, another episode of Sports Paws next Monday night at 9:30. It's our second to last episode of the year, Aaron. Crazy to believe. I know, don't start crying yet, man. Still got a couple more shows. For Aaron Robinson, I'm Kyle Lavasser. Have a great night.